The following is a Podbeard production.
From the deepest bowels of your imagination.
Actually, he's from Canada there, bud.
From the famed Hodder Show Studios, this is The Hodder Show.
What's up, everybody? We're rolling out of you here today on episode 211 of The Hodder Show. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. Thanks so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I have a very interesting episode for you here today, as I try to every single week here on The Hodder Show. I get talked to a lot about this show, and people are like, hey, man, I like the show, but maybe you should talk about this, or maybe you should talk about this, or hey, you talked about this once, maybe you should bring it back. And that's something I'm always looking to do. If someone has an idea for something, and they're like, man, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, or you should, find a list of this specific topic and then kind of report on it and then give your thoughts or whatever, I always find those interesting. It's kind of like what some people do on YouTube, but they'll condense it to like a 5-minute video. Whereas with what I do, I tend to spread it out over the course of, half an hour to an hour or whatever. So today, with that all being said, we are covering definitely a topic I have touched on before, but it's been a long time. And I've never talked about this specific brand, if you will, on this topic, and that is the weirdest internet mysteries. I've talked about unsolved mysteries, I've talked about conspiracy theories, I've talked about paranormal stuff, and tons of different topics kind of that relate to this, but I've never really covered unsolved mysteries of the internet. Now, what is an unsolved mystery, you may ask, or what am I considering to be a mystery? Basically, all you guys need to know is anything that has been presented to me or that I have found that is just odd and that is considered a quote-unquote mystery that hasn't been solved, or something that I think kind of pertains to this. Where did something come from? Where did this, whether it's an image or a website or a video, which is mostly what's on my collection here, so if things like that, basically where did they come from? And that's always interesting to talk about. So we're going to jump into that. But before I do, I want to give everyone a big shout out for their support last week on the show when I did my little live review of King Catalyst's brand new EP. If you guys have not heard that, please check it out. It is, of course, up on the YouTube channel, the Hodder Show YouTube channel, as well as on SoundCloud and Spotify, iTunes, Castbox, Stitcher, all that fun stuff. Go check it out. It was a lot of fun. Thank you to those who tuned in and those who tuned in afterwards as well. I know it was kind of a weird time of day for me to be doing it. I'm sure if I did it at a different time, more of you would have tuned in, but that is okay. It was still a lot of fun to do, just for me to sit back and do a full legit reaction to each track. I don't usually do that. Usually I like to kind of, pick the tracks apart a little bit in a positive way, kind of on my own time. I make notes and then I do the podcast. So doing it this way was definitely very interesting, to say the least. And you know what else is interesting is the fact that if you are looking for tickets for either any kind of a concert, sporting, theater, or family event, you do not need to mess around with any other site except for my friends over at SeatGiant.ca or .com, of course, depending on where you are in the world. No matter what type of event you're looking for, SeatGiant will have you covered with great competitive pricing, different levels of pricing, whether you're looking to be right front and center or you just want to be up in the nosebleeds to experience that. They have you covered with any type of ticket you could possibly need. Even if it's last minute, they still have a lot of different tickets on their site. Super easy to navigate and use. All you have to do is go on, search for the type of event you want. Or if you're just maybe looking for an event, you're like, you know what, I feel like going to watch a game tonight or sometime this week, but I don't know what's going on. Have no fear, because SeatGiant will have your back with all the different types of events going on. No worries there. Regardless of how much money you're looking to spend, they've got something for you. They have super easy to use seating map. Literally, what more could you want? Seriously. What more could you want? You want a discount? You want a discount? Okay, don't tell anyone, all right? But if you go on there, You purchase the tickets that you want, which, by the way, have a full money-back guarantee if there are any issues at all, because Seat Giant care about you and your event. While you're at checkout, use the coupon code PODBEARD. That's PODBEARD, PODBEARD, and you'll save yourself a little something at checkout. And if you're spending, I don't know, $600, for example, as one of our recent listeners did do to go see a concert, they bought a few tickets, that little something will save you quite a bit of damn money. So do not mess around. All you have to do is type in a few letters, PODBEARD, all lowercase, and you will save yourself a little something at checkout. And of course, it helps out your friends here at Podbeard Network, of course, myself included. Don't mess around with any other site. Go on seatgiant.com or .ca today. And if you do, be sure to hit us up to let you know that you did, and we will share your pictures from your event. Seat Giant doesn't just sell tickets, they sell experiences. With that, we're ready to roll into this podcast here today. We're talking about some internet unsolved mysteries. Let's get it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, okay? You're like, hey man, so are you going to cover anything stupid? And what I mean by that is, like, say, for example, one thing I was going to talk about, but it's not really a mystery because it was easily solved and it's kind of been solved, but I was going to cover it as like almost an honorary mention. And that was the whole Momo thing, you know, where apparently that bird looking thing, you know, the creepiest, it was creepy as hell. It really was. It was like a bird with like a woman's head, but it was like a beak. It was terrifying to look at. It really was, especially if you're a kid. But basically, apparently it was popping up in kids' videos and telling them to like murder their parents and stuff. And it's like, oh boy, that's pretty intense. Now, mind you, I could not find any of these videos, and I looked for them for a while when this first happened. But when I decided to do this topic, I was talking with somebody and they were like, oh man, like I hope you don't cover that one, because that was a really stupid, like, people were like, oh, we need to solve the mystery of where these came from, and it was easily just, you know, whatever it wasn't real, you know, this whole thing of, I mean, I don't know who's doing this. I would certainly like to find out who and give them a solid punch right in the nuts, but, or boob, I guess. I don't know what hurts when you punch a girl somewhere. It's just not cool. And there are also apparently videos out there. Again, I have not seen these. I have not seen much on these, aside from speculation on social media, really, and then also some articles on different news sites about apparently there being alternate versions of kids' videos where, like, you know, apparently, like, there's one video where there is the kids watching it, and then, like, you know, the fairy or whatever is teaching them how to summon fire fairies, which can only be done in the middle of the night when everyone else in your house is sleeping and you have to turn on the stove and leave it on. And like, it's really messed up. I don't know why you would do that. There hasn't really been a lot of information on where these videos are coming from. It's just some sick freak out there. You know, I don't think there's really much of a mystery per se to it. It just basically, all it's really done is cause parents to be more careful with their child on the internet, which I don't think is a bad thing, because there's a lot of messed up stuff on the internet that isn't a mystery. Moving on. I don't think I need to say anything else. You know, as a young child, when the internet started to really come into its own, when I was a kid, you know, you could easily go on there and accidentally stumble across something you didn't mean to. And there was some really messed up shit on there, guys. Like, really messed up stuff, you know. So I don't think it's a bad thing the parents being a little more careful with what their child is viewing on the internet. But anyway, we're going to just kind of jump into my little collection I have here. And the first one is kind of, it's an interesting one, because a lot of people think of it as a creepypasta. And they are correct, but there is a little more to it than that. And that is Jeff the Killer. Now, if you guys are not familiar with what Jeff the Killer is, I'm looking at the picture right now, and it's just, it's I wouldn't say it's horrifying, it's just really freaking disturbing. But basically what it is it is a super creepy video popped up on YouTube featuring the super creepy face that is Jeff the Killer. This happened about 2008. And that's what the face was dubbed, Jeff the Killer. It became one of the most popular scary stories on the internet. The character became subject to a series of paranormal stories that are now known as creepypastas, because at that time they were still kind of coming into their own. It's some of the most terrifying collection of user-generated fictions ever written. If you guys have not read any of the Jeff the Killer ones, I do, highly recommend you check them out, because they're pretty freaky. Jeff the Killer is pretty much as recognizable as, like a Slenderman, and definitely is not on the same level. Slenderman is like the most popular creepypasta to the point where, he have his own movie and all that stuff. However, Jeff the Killer does have an anime about him, apparently. I did not know that until I started looking into Jeff the Killer a little bit. But that's kind of what Jeff the Killer is. But considering how popular it got, no one can really figure out where it came from. And there's kind of a little bit of an internet legend about this, and that's why I wanted to cover this on this list. And that is, as legend goes, Jeff the Killer was born from the suicide of a teenage girl named Katie Robinson. As legend goes, Katie posted a photo of herself on 4chan, which is just the lowest point of the internet, of course. And the users bullied her about her weight so badly that she killed herself, which is, that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. The image of Jeff the Killer was supposedly made by distorting Kathy's face with Photoshop, but no one knows who owned the account of the user who originally posted the video. But the account has since been terminated by YouTube for violating their guidelines. If the internet is to be believed, the video was created by one of the 4chan trolls who drove Cat Katie to suicide with their bullying. So it's pretty messed up, the fact that it has the story that it does. The fact that it was born out of a girl who apparently killed herself, which is that's horrible. Bullying sucks. And if you're someone who feels the need to bully someone on the internet, you're literally the biggest loser in the world, in my opinion. But hey, that's just my thoughts. As far as my thoughts on the whole thing kind of being an unsolved mystery, the main reason why I wanted to have this included is it's just the story of this teenage girl and who owned the account. That's what I'm curious about. Because if she posted this photo and then, someone had distorted or whatever they did to it, which you can clearly tell it's just a picture that's been really freaking messed with, because you can tell that there is a face in there and it doesn't look like the rest of the picture is normal. It's just the face that's really really distorted and messed up looking. So if I was this girl, I would probably feel pretty horrible about myself, really, which is terrible. That's not anything cool, for sure. I'm definitely not saying that. But what interests me is, the user of this account posted the video. Why did they feel the need to go that far? Is there truth to this? Did this, Katie person take her life? Is this all 100% a thing? I don't know. It's definitely weird, and it definitely leads me to believe that there's probably more to this story. So definitely something interesting. Now this one is involves Reddit, actually, and that is Reddit's A858. So basically, Reddit is a place, of course, where internet mysteries are both born and solved. If there's a topic that needs investigating, Reddit is always ready to jump on it, which is exactly what happened in 2011 when a new subreddit was created. All the subreddit contained was multiple posts with seemingly random strings of numbers and letters. For a while, the subreddit went unnoticed. The creator didn't want to seem to draw attention to it, but eventually, Reddit users stumbled upon the subreddit and decided that the letter number strings looked like a code. And if there's anything hackers truly love, it's cracking code they're not supposed to understand. That is a freaking understatement. People flocked to the subreddit to try and decipher the code. The creator kept the subreddit private and only invited those who showed significant progress in cracking the code. A subreddit dedicated to solving the puzzle popped up as well. Progress was made in decoding the letter number strings, but almost as soon as the progress was made, the creator of the subreddit set it to private and then announced the A858 project has concluded. You may unsubscribe. To date, no explanation for the A858 project has been discovered, and the code has not been broken. Speculation as to the purpose of the project abounds, everything from it was a behavioral study to aliens, of course, because we're on Reddit. So I recently have been getting into Reddit, as if you guys listen to my podcast regularly, you know, because I've covered a lot of stuff from Reddit lately. And Reddit fascinates me because you get all kinds of interesting people on there and interesting things happening. So when I read about this more so, it didn't surprise me that something like this was happening or that was going on. But what did surprise me was the fact that there was no payoff. And that's why I think, in my opinion, in my extremely humble, uneducated opinion, it was probably some kind of a behavioral study, or someone was just having some fun. You know, the fact that, of course, it's like, oh, it was aliens. And I mean, you know, doing a bit of looking this up, the people are saying that it was like some kind of government conspiracy, of course, because it's Reddit. You know, people are saying there was like the code that they were cracking could have been some kind of alien code or something, or message or whatever. And it's just silly to always go through that. But if I had to have it in my opinion, I would say that it was most likely just someone either having some fun or, you know, maybe it was a behavioral study. That interests me. It's like, let's see what happens when we do this. Let's see how long it takes people to become obsessed with it. And there are those people out there, you know, that get obsessive with this kind of thing, where they can't sleep until they figure out the code, or they can't sleep until they, you know, beat that level, or they're basically people who become obsessed with it. It's an interesting thing to look at. People who maybe have that obsessive nature, you know, to see how obsessed they got with it. And I'm sure there are people who, you know, literally stayed up all night for tons of time trying to crack this code. So definitely something interesting to think about. And the fact that there was no payoff, that's just, you know, that's definitely interesting. Now, the next thing I have in my list here is a super weird, creepy video that was dropped in 2009 that is referred to as the I Feel Fantastic video. So basically, a user called Creepy Blog, which he definitely lives up to his freaking name, posted a video of an android singing a song called I Feel Fantastic. The voice is synthesized, making it totally unrecognizable unless we're to assume it was sung by Stephen King. The soundtrack behind the singing is a bunch of random synth music. The creepy robot dressed in different clothes and posed differently throughout the video is the only thing featured in the video, other than one shot of the edge of the woods in an undisclosed location. Already super, super creepy. No one was able to figure out who Creepy Blogger was or why they had posted such a strange video. The description of the video contained references to the Greek legend Pygmalion, who believed that women were unworthy of his love, so he sculpted his ideal woman out of clay. Now, one of the goddesses brought the clay woman to life. The reference is particularly creepy when you consider the robot is a woman apparently named Tiara, who was apparently built by a man named John Pergrin. People have speculated that Pergrin is Creepy Blogger, and the references to Pygmalion are Pergrin's way of saying he sculpted Tiara as his perfect, or Tara, as his perfect woman. Internet legend also says that the woods shown in the video are the burial site of a real woman named Tara, and that the robot is a recreation of the murdered Tara. According to the story, Creepy Blogger murdered the real Tara, built a robot in her likeness, and dressed the robot up in Tara's clothes. No evidence has ever been found to support these theories, but no evidence has been found as the origin of the video either. So basically, the only thing really to describe or discuss, not describe, is whether or not there is a legit unsolved murder out there of this, Tara woman, and with this robot and this whole thing with the creepy blogger. It is super creepy. You can still find the video out there too if you really want to find it. But it's to think that, this guy murdered someone and then build this, he sculpted his perfect woman as this robot. That is definitely really weird to think about. And, you want to believe that it was just someone who, is maybe trying to, I guess, just do something creepy. You want to believe maybe that's all it is, but it's like, is it though? I don't know. There's definitely some really weird, freaking people on the internet, and this is proof of it, because if this person did murder that poor woman, that's really messed up. And the fact that there's no evidence of it, and the fact that they can't just track who the person is either, like, I doubt the police would want to go that far, because it's like, okay, there's no merit to this. Like, this is just speculation, but maybe it'd be worth looking into. You never know. This was a while ago, of course, but yeah. Just my thoughts on the whole thing. So next one I have here is Web Driver Torso. So in late 2013, a series of videos began popping up on YouTube. Each video was exactly 11 seconds long, and they showed random red and blue rectangles moving around the screen, while a series of sine wave tones plays as the soundtrack. Over 80,000 of these videos were uploaded, and they were uploaded at a ridiculous rate. 2 videos per minute at some point. The internet was baffled by the appearance of the videos and wondered what they meant. No answers were provided. Immediately provided anyway. One user posted in an online forum that these images looked similar to something they'd seen in a presentation at Google. Their blogger showed off some pro-level research skills and managed to track down the account that uploaded the video. The account belonged to a Google employee. As people started to dig further, the originators of the videos knew they were being tracked down and decided to have some fun. A new Web Driver Torso video popped up that rickrolled viewers. Eventually, someone reached out to the account putting out the videos for an official statement. Their answer? A poem mirroring the lyrics "Never Gonna Give You Up," about how the videos tested upload quality. Turns out Google was behind it all along. The videos helped Google monitor the upload quality of their service. Web Driver Torso is one of the few internet mysteries that can be put in the solved column. That's why I wanted to include this one, because it's one that was really weird and it was like really freaking people out. And it's like, hey guys, it was nothing. So doesn't necessarily mean that everything you come across on the internet that seems really weird and messed up isn't just have some really logical explanation. Okay, let's just throw that out there. So the next one that we have here is actually a website. And this one is interesting. I think it's really interesting. Again, probably a super logical explanation, but it was never really figured out. And that is mortis.com. If you try to go to mortis.com today, you'll receive an error message. That's because the site was taken down by the feds. No one really knows as to why the feds decided to take it down. Internet users stumbled across the site randomly, and all that was displayed was a login screen for a username and a password. And that's literally all you'll find on this, basically. If you want to do a deep Google search, you'll literally just find a picture of the login screen and all that. And the name of the site, of course. Of course, this intrigued users who wanted to know what lay behind the login screen, and they set to work to figure out the username and password. Now, quick sidebar, the fact that this is how obsessive people are on the internet. Like, it's like, oh, hey, look, a website that has a username and login that we don't know anything about. Let's try and hack it. It's just silly to me. Even the most talented hackers couldn't crack the login, but they did manage to figure out that the site was hosting an insane amount of data. This increased the mystery level exponentially. What could a lockdown site hosting that much data be used for? No one could figure it out. They eventually tracked down the site to a man named Tom Ling, who owned multiple other equally mysterious sites, including one called Cthulhu.net. Before internet sleuths could get much further into their digging, the FBI shut down all of the sites associated with Tom Ling. This is another internet mystery that will remain unsolved. The popular speculation is that Mortis.com was some sort of data house for illegal activities hosted by some sort of shady organization, possibly within the government. So what is Mortis? Is Mortis maybe some kind of a government thing? You know, maybe some secret government conspiracy going on here, folks? Maybe. Or is it someone's personal stash of porn? I don't know. Could it be nothing? It's funner to think that it's probably not nothing. How much is an insane amount of data are we talking here? You know, could it have been something as simple as, you know, a government site that was used for housing different data that was useless to the common public, and that's why it had such, but it was sensitive data, you know? Could it have been that? Could it have been, I don't know, interrogation videos? Could it have been... It was probably a lot of video content. If it had an insane amount of data, it could have been that. It could have been, different huge files of, documentation or whatever. So it's interesting to think what it was. But at the end of the day, I don't think it was really anything myself personally. It just... How many websites are probably out there that are private websites? I mean, seriously. I know for a fact that there was a period of time where even I had a private website, okay? That was literally just basically used for me to log on. Well, that was the original Harder Show website. I would literally use it to log on. When you search the freaking, in the search bar for it, it would literally just pop up as a username password type deal. That was all it was. And I had it set for that so I could go into it and basically edit it, but then also I gave the password to a couple people so that they could go in and look at what I was doing, because I didn't know that you could just have private links and stuff, because I was really stupid. So it's definitely not that weird to come across a login and password type deal that you can't figure out. I mean, the fact that even some of the most talented hackers couldn't crack the login and stuff, that is definitely weird, but I mean, come on. How long would it take for you to sit there and go through every possible combination of numbers and letters and every word in the world? Obviously it was something weird. So either way, I think we can definitely all agree that it was probably something really weird. But let's just move on. Is what it is. Now, before I go any further here, I want to take a quick second to give a big shout out to my man, Mr. Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts. You guys know how Jason is the man and how much he's helped me out and helped out the Podbeard Network. If you need any kind of logos, any kind of mailers, any kind of banner for your social media, t-shirts, stickers, any kind of photo manipulation, photo touch-ups, Jason is your guy. He'll provide you with quick, quality service at an extremely affordable price, and you do not need to just take my word for it, because if you go on his website and you go on his social media, you'll see all of the wonderful testimonies he's had from tons of different clientele, ranging from some great local bands all the way up to, the hardcore legend Mick Foley even. When you see some of his work, you're going to know, okay, this guy's the man. He does some spectacular stuff, and if you've liked anything basically I've uploaded ever, when it comes to any kind of logos or t-shirts or anything, or Two Guys in a Game, Mics and Beers, Podbeard Network, you do not need to come and ask me, hey man, who does your stuff? It looks pretty good, because Jason from Jaybird Digital Arts does. Don't mess around with anyone else. Contact Jason today by going on his website, jaybirddigitalarts.com, or checking him out on Jaybird Digital Arts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And be sure to let him know that TJ sent ya. So jumping back into the list here, it's interesting. When I was going to do this, I'm like, okay, I don't know how some of these are going to get over, because, I like to sit down and read a few of these kind of stories, and then I'll just kind of start collecting them. And, sometimes I will go on like a website that has a list of them and I'll just kind of read off it. Other times I'll just like copy and paste information and that I kind of find and throw it all together and hope it makes sense. So sometimes I'll just kind of read off these, and sometimes they'll make sense, sometimes they won't. But hopefully, hopefully it makes sense, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this little list so far. So the next one I have here for you is definitely it's kind of a cool, interesting one. And that is Cicada 3301. And this was one that actually quite a few people had heard about. So it's a pretty well-known one, because even I had heard about it before I started doing research for this, whereas some of these, obviously, I hadn't. So in 2012, a challenge started floating around the internet. On multiple message boards within the internet, a user calling themselves simply 3301 posted the image above with a message about how the image contained a test. The message said they were looking for highly intelligent individuals that decoded the message hidden within the image would be the first step in finding them. Of course, programmers, hackers, and puzzle solvers went wild in the quest to decode Cicada 3301 was on. Quick sidebar, if you go on Google and just type in cicada, so it's CICADA 3301, at least I'm assuming it's cicada, that's how I'm going to pronounce it. You can find this, and basically it is it's a picture of like a moth or a butterfly that's kind of distorted in black and white. I mean, I look at it and I don't see shit, but I'm not a hacker or a puzzle solver or anything, so I'm not really looking for anything. But Cicada 3301 is one of the few internet mysteries that's been partially solved, but only a few people have managed to solve it. In order to solve the puzzle, very specific skills were needed. Each time a clue was solved, it would only lead to another clue, some of which were offline, which is really interesting. Cicada 3301 was a complicated puzzle that encompassed the real world and virtual world, all the way down to the dark web, which is, of course, when things start getting weird. But unfortunately for those who made it as far as the dark web, the path ended there. The organizer had put up a message that said how disappointed they were that no single user had managed to solve the puzzle on their own. The people who had gotten that far had worked together in small groups, rather than pursuing the puzzle individually. Those who did make it there on their own made it too late. We still have no idea who is behind the Cicada 3301 or what might have been on the dark website before the organizers got frustrated with the puzzle. Most believe that the puzzle was a recruiting tool for some kind of company organization that was looking for super talented cybersecurity programmers, but at this point, we'll never know. And that's kind of what really I was going to say about the whole thing. It was probably someone looking to recruit either hackers, which is kind of the darker side of looking at it. Maybe someone was looking for like, oh, I'm going to find some puzzle solvers and some hackers and some smart people, and we're going to like hack stuff and we're going to take over the world or whatnot. Which is, again, that's the kind of, for the sake of the podcast, we're going to say maybe that was what was going on. But in reality, it could have been just a security company looking for like some super talented hackers or whatever to like help them with cybersecurity programs and stuff like that. But we'll never know, because I guess the person who headed up got too frustrated. And I mean, they shouldn't have. They should have just been like, all right, well, I guess all you guys are, joining my content or joining my, my group or whatever it is. So it's interesting to think what could have been, especially the name Cicada. Like what is that? That's not a very common name. That's not a very common thing, unless of course you're, you watch The Flash. The Flash, Cicada. It's definitely interesting. So I don't know. Well, we'll just leave it at that. I think that it was probably some kind of a hacker group or something looking for some super talented hackers, maybe to, join them on their path to take over the world. That was like the worst evil laugh in existence, but I apologize. So let's just go ahead and move on. So the next one I have here for you guys is Oct, which is OCT, as in October 28th, 2011.com. So back in the 90s, when the web was new, it was relatively common to see text-only web pages with only a few words on the homepage and links to other pages within the site. It was super common to see that. Web pages formatted like this were much less common in 2011, but that wasn't until, of course, OCT28211.com popped up online. The site featured a black background with simple white text with no images. The text was cryptic to say the least, heavily focused on a future date, hinting that something significant would happen that day. Links led to inner pages, some containing cruelly drawn pictures, one containing a phone number that people were too afraid to call. The date on the site was October 28, 2011, but it passed and nothing of note seemed to happen. Neither did the site change in any way. Curiosity got the better of people, and they began to call the phone number, and that's when things got creepy as fuck. People who posted on the forums that there was long silence, followed by heavy breathing and muffled voices. Some said they heard things so awful they couldn't repeat them. Of course, no one knows if these users were simply playing into the mystery, hyping it up, or, if there was actually some truth to this. Since then, the site has been taken down, and no further progress has been made in finding out the mystery behind the site or the phone number. Man, I wish more people had called the phone number. I really do. I mean, in 2011, what were these things that were so awful people couldn't repeat them? Because nowadays it probably wouldn't be that bad in accordance to how people talk nowadays and the things people say to each other. Sometimes I don't know why I'm laughing, but that just makes me laugh. Like, how bad could it have been, really? But as far as the picture itself, I'm going to open it in a new tab here. I'm going to read what it says here, at least this one picture I have here. So I guess this was the first thing you saw. And it's really hard to read, actually. It's really kind of blurry, so I'm going to do my best. And it just doesn't make any sense. It says, "There are no coincidences." And then there's like a little thing. "Russia, I heard you." "Spence Abon, what you feel is what I feel. ... +2. Are you ready for tomorrow? ? Record your awakening." So some could say that's kind of weird and messed up, but to me, that's just a bunch of nothing. But again, if I was active when this has happened and was going through the site and stuff, maybe it would mean more. But to me, that just seems a little weird, a little silly. I do wish maybe someone would have recorded those phone calls or something. That'd be interesting to hear. I'd be really interested to explore that a little more, but there's not really much else aside from some of the pictures from the site, which I'm not going to sit here and go through them all, but that's one that I have here that is definitely interesting. And there's no context as far as like what the pictures are or what page they were from or whatever. But I think this one I have here was the first one that you saw, if I am not mistaken. So now the next one I have here is another kind of weird hackery type kind of puzzle thing, which is really weird. So I'm going to just do my best to kind of explain this one, but it is 973-EHT-NAMUH-973. And basically, this site is a monument to numerology, the belief that numbers have a divine connection to particular events. A lot of religious mysticism is tied to numerology. The site has some serious religious overtones as well. Some of the pages are covered in Bible verses surrounded by numbers. On some pages, Bible verses are plotted out on the charts. The purpose of the site is entirely unknown to this day. The site is owned by a British artist who was discovered when his image was found buried deep within the pages of the site. Some theorize that the site is an elaborate art project created by a techno artist with basic HTML skills. Others believe that the numerology is an attempt to mathematically prove the existence of God. The truth is, the site remains a complete mystery and one of the most complex mysteries the internet has to offer. So, if you look at this, I will kind of read off the one picture I have here, which is, again, I believe it's the first picture. I'm not going to look up the site or anything for right now. It'd be one thing if I was doing a video, I'd totally look up the site, but it's a bunch of gibberish. I don't even know if the site's still active at this point. So the one thing is, it's 973. It's just a bunch of numbers to me. It looks like nothing. But the one thing you can make out, it says the thou of that 973. And it's 973 AZ 9 plus 7 plus 3 19 1 plus 9 I 973 9 times 7 times 3 189 1 plus 8 plus 9 18 1 plus 8 and then 9 1 times 8 times 9 7 2 7 plus 2 9 9 spelt out and then AUMMANI Padme. Oh, I know that one. And then hum, then AZ repeated a bunch of times with asterisks. So to me, this looks like a bunch of nothing. But that doesn't necessarily mean it isn't nothing. It could be more than that. And it's definitely super interesting. You know what? Just for the sake of argument, real quick here, guys. You can probably hear me clicking. I'm going to try and go on the site. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen here. Okay. So I'm on the actual site here. And if you guys want to check this out too on your own time, the site itself, I think I'm in. This is weird. This is really weird. Huh. Sorry, guys. I'm literally I'm speechless because this is really weird. I don't really know what I'm looking at here. So, the site. Excuse me. Let me get through this here. The site itself is the URL is 973 EHT NAMUH 973.com. And the first thing you're greeted with is this a maze in. So you click on that, and then there's these weird symbols, and then from that there's all this. Okay, so here's the one picture I had. Creepy as hell picture. Super creepy picture. So some of the stuff that's on this one page here, which is the third page in, it's I am that I am, I am that I am, I am that I am. Blessed be that name, be blessed. And then it's a bunch of letters and I thought with a bunch of numbers underneath it. It does look like a code or something. The great work, status unfinished. The magical alphabet. Add to all minus none shared, but everything multiplied in abundance. Add to reduce to deduce. Divine love is 9999. Is some love divine? Arises that sun sets, that sun sets, that sun sets, that sun. Added to all minus none shared by everything multiplied in abundance. And the next page is the one thing I was saying before. Then there's like a super creepy looking art picture. And then the thing here that says Sri Karnash's remembering. And there's a thing here. Many lives, Arjuna, you and I have lived. I remember them all, but thou dost not. Another picture. It's like a painting. It's not super disturbing or anything. Yeah, there's a bunch of yeah, there's just like a bunch of like stuff what look to be Bible verses and weird numbers and stuff like that. It's not really, I mean, it's kind of disturbing because I don't know what I'm looking at. So that's kind of freaking me out a little bit, if I'm being honest. Okay, here's an actual Holy Bible reference here. Page 117 AD. Jesus answered and said unto him, Verify, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. And there's a bunch of numbers. And I'm only going to go through a couple more. Kind of the similar picture we saw earlier, but more freaky looking. More numbers. Another Holy Bible reference. Really huge page. Okay, I'm not going through all this. Screw that. All right. So that's definitely weird. I'm glad I explored that a little bit at least. Hopefully you guys didn't mind me kind of taking a dip out there to explore that a bit. That was definitely really weird. Hopefully my voice reaction was enough to explain how messed up what I was looking at was. Probably not going to go on that site ever again because it kind of disturbs me a little bit, if I'm being honest with you. But no, maybe if I knew numerology, I would be more intrigued, but it just kind of seems a little weird to me. So now the next one that we're going to cover here is the Plague Doctor video. So in 2015, a seriously disturbing video went viral that sent the internet into a frenzy. The person featured in a video had a Plague Doctor mask on and included scenes of murder, a mental asylum, super cryptic clues, and the phrase, "kill the president," which led many to wonder if the video hinted at a threat to then President Obama's safety. The origin of the video is undetermined, and the internet sleuths scrambled to figure out if it was a cohesive message. The video was posted by a user named Parker Wright, who could not be traced. Later, a Twitter account bearing the same username popped up and began to give more clues. The Twitter account eventually announced the release of a second video, and as promised, a sequel chock full of new clues was released. The man who called himself Parker Wright eventually revealed himself on a public Facebook page and made himself part of the puzzle. He continued to leak clues and eventually brought the game offline, leaving USB drives in locations communicated via GPS coordinates. As of yet, the puzzle started with the original video has not been solved, but Parker Wright hopes it will be, and he's going to keep putting clues out there until it is. So the video itself is pretty messed up, but it seems like it's just that. It's just a disturbing video. I don't think it's anything super, super freaky. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's pretty disturbing. I think it's super disturbing anyway. At least in my opinion, it is. It's pretty fucked up. And I believe last time I checked, there is a lot of video content on this out there. And it's interesting to look at. I don't know if there's actually still a video out there of it, but I remember seeing the video when it came out. That's why I'm saying it was disturbing, because I remember it. And, I think the whole kill the president phase was just something that was kind of weird. I mean, maybe, who knows, maybe there's more to it than that. Maybe someone took over the thing and they were trying to get popular with it or something else. I don't know. But either way, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely an interesting thought that there could be more to it than just some random internet video. So now the next one I have here is definitely it's all coding related. So I'm going to do my best to get through this because I am not very intelligent and I don't know a lot of big words. So I'm going to do my best here. The Markovian parallax denigrate. Oh, I knew that word. There you go. So the Markovian parallax denigrate. The Markovian parallax denigrate is the internet's oldest mystery. It started basically when the internet was born. In 1996, Usenet, a kind of predecessor of today's web forums, users received the first known instance of internet spam. They began to receive messages, the title post of each containing the words Markovian parallax denigrate. The message that followed was a seemingly random assortment of words. Some of the words were real words, while others seemed to be gibberish. Hundreds of messages inundated the board on a single day, sparking much interest. But when users couldn't figure out the source or meaning of the messages, they gave up to try to explain the phenomenon. About 10 years later, internet sleuths noticed. I love internet sleuths. I love that. Like, who are the internet sleuths? There's people who sit on the internet all day and just look around. They noticed that the Wikipedia page for the event known as the Markovian parallax denigrate had a picture of one of the messages. The picture showed a name in the message, Susan Landry. Conspiracy Nuts noted that she was a former journalist and CIA asset who'd been allegedly connected to Saddam Hussein's government and who'd taken up the hobby of spouting conspiracy theories. The web page disappeared shortly after the internet made the connection. People immediately jumped to the conclusion that the message was a secret government message being passed in code, which might have made sense if Landry, the journalist CIA asset, was linked to the Markovian parallax denigrate, which she confirmed she wasn't, and neither were other Susan Landrys the internet sleuths were able to track down. This mystery is another one that still hasn't been solved, but it's likely that it was an elaborate prank orchestrated by the internet's first trolls, which is literally what I think it is. So let's look at the picture here of the message. So it says from Susan _ Lander, which could have been nothing. Subject Markovian parallax denigrate, and it was sent to this user, Chris Brokerage. Date 1996, 0805. Message ID, it's a bunch of random stuff. Organization EKE, content type text plain. A bunch of other stuff. News groups, alt religion, Christian, Boston Church. So that's interesting that there's all these things of Christian in that. And then it says, I'm going to at least just pick out some of the words. Jitterbugging, McKinley, ape, break, interfering, caw, update, Cohen, air, collaborate, sports writing, shad flower, pathogenesis, which is random chairperson, different, pinpoint, dunk, McKinley again, pendant, firelight, Uranus, episodic medicine, flogging, brotherhood, impromptu file, contents, inheritance, cohesion, refrigerate, morphine, napkin, inland, generico, name able, yearbook, hark. Seems like a bunch of random gibberish and words to me, but then again, I'm not a hacker. But it just seems like it was probably someone playing a prank, in my opinion anyway. Now, the next one I have here is something that, to understand the concept behind Marina's web, you need to understand that there are levels of the internet. For those of you who are not aware, the sites you see when you're just kind of browsing around are the highest level of the internet, and they go from there. Below that, metaphorically speaking, is the dark web, which is protected under an extra layer of security. Most stuff in the deep web can only be accessed through a special kind of internet browser called a Tor browser. Users who have sites on the deep web are looking for privacy. They don't want to be found by regular everyday internet users. Below that, again, is the dark web. This is, of course, metaphorically speaking. These sites are only accessible by Tor browsers. But on top of that, there are all sorts of security measures to ensure that these sites aren't found by anyone who doesn't want them seen, which is pretty messed up. So, Marina's web refers to the deepest level of the dark web, named from Mariana's Trench, which is the deepest part of the ocean. The thing about Marianist Web is it doesn't actually exist, which is kind of hilarious to think about. It was all a hoax perpetuated by an image that started flowing around forums asking users if they could help the poster find Marianist Web. The poster claimed that a level of the internet existed under the dark web and that finding it would require the most expert hackers on the internet. And after many a hacker searched for the Marianist Web, it was discovered the entire thing was a hoax. So again, can't always believe what you hear on the internet, folks. But, the dark web does exist for sure. I've never personally myself gone looking on a Tor browser, to go and find said deep web or dark, internet stuff. But I do know it exists because there's a lot of information out there about the dark web. For the record, I should say something. Deep dives on 4chan, it's not the dark web. Let me just say that real quick because I had this argument with someone the other day where they're like, I go on the dark web almost every day. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, totally. I'm like, so what do you see on there? Oh, it's a bunch of people talking about messed up stuff. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So how do you get there? Oh, you just type in blah, 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 and you go here. And I'm like, that's 4chan, dude. And he's like, no, man, it's the dark web. I'm like, that's freaking hilarious. Anyway, so the last thing I have here for you guys is, so it's actually a cult called Heaven's Gate. So the Heaven's Gate cult was a UFO cult that began in the 70s. In the 90s, they became convinced that there was an alien ship hiding behind the Hale-Bopp comet. The members of the cult believed that in order to gain passage on the ship and ascend to the next level, they needed to leave their earthly bodies behind. This belief led to a mass suicide. The original investigation into the mass suicide led cops to believe that all members of the Heaven's Gate cult had died, which made the fact that emails to their recruiting site were still answered to be super creepy. The cult had put up a website to inform people of their belief system and to recruit new members, as they believed their mission to save people by helping them ascend to the next level. After the cult's mass suicide, the site remained active and people continued to send messages to the site. To their shock, the messages were answered. The rumors began to fly that the site was communicating from the beyond. The truth turned out to be far less interesting. 2 members of the cult had been instructed to not kill themselves so that they could continue to carry the message of Heaven's Gate to the world. As of last year, the remaining cult members maintain the websites and answer the messages. So, literally, I guess. What the hell? I know we're doing a podcast, guys, but let's very quickly. Let's check this out. Let's see what's up with this. Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate. Oh, that's Heaven's Gate, a podcast. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I'm not finding anything. Oh, here we go. Haha. So you go on heavensgate.com. Interesting. So, I mean, it's a very old looking website, obviously. But, I mean, there's a lot of info here. And there's the email. Part of me wants to send an email to get... just to see. Oh, this should be interesting. Our position against suicide. And these are physical vehicles. Blah 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 blah. Man, it's fucking weird. I probably shouldn't be going on these sites on my computer because it's probably gonna get like flagged or something, and they're gonna send me something. But whatever. It's interesting. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that. Next thing you know, someone shows at my door. Hello, Charlie. Looking to get to Heaven's Gate. I'm like, man, get the hell off my lawn. Oh man, so Heaven's Gate, man. Is there a spaceship behind Hobbs' comet? I doubt it. I seriously fucking doubt it. But well, damn. You know, maybe there's something to that. You know, maybe Jesus came on a spaceship. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's chilling on that spaceship. And he's like, you know, why aren't all these people killing themselves to get on my spaceship? Come on now. Careful, Scientology. Nah, just kidding. Scientology is a peaceful religion about beep boop. I'm gonna get arrested for sure. Not arrested, but I'm gonna get sued for sure. But that's okay. I don't have any money anyway, so they can take it. But that's me doing a kind of a bit of a look around for Internet Unsolved Mysteries. Hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And regardless of how you're listening, if you're listening on the Spotify or the iTunes or Castbox or Stitcher, or if you're watching on the YouTube, thank you for watching on the YouTube because you'll be looking at a blank picture. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. But if you have any thoughts or comments on anything I've talked about, be sure to hit me up. Let me know. Hit me up on either on the web at podbeannetwork.com/The Hotter Show, or you can also hit me up on the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under The Hotter Show, or email me anytime at thehottershow@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you guys. If you have any thoughts, or if you maybe did a deep dive on that one website I was doing, hit me up, send me pictures. You know, I'd love to hear from you guys and hear about it. And, you know, if you want to discuss anything like that, hit me up. I would love to chat with you guys about it. That's what I love to do. But that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on The Hotter Show. Take it easy, guys.